What is going on, guys? My name is Vlad, and in this video we are going to take a look at for loops in C programming language. At this point we understand the concept and the main principles of for loops as we've discussed it in the previous video, and now it's time for some hands-on. So suppose that you have to write a program that reads a number from the user and then prints all the numbers from 1 till that particular number. So first of all, we just declare a num variable, then we read it from the user, enter a number, and based on the number that the user inserts, we are going to print all the numbers from 1 to this particular number. So if for example he enters a num equals to 5, we are going to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that clear? And if the user inserts 10, then we are going to print all the numbers from 1 to 10. And so on. Basically, you got the idea. So one of the ways to do so would be by using the for loops. So basically the structure would be something like that. So first of all, you specify the for statement, you use the for, and then you are going to have the parentheses to hold the 3 states or condition we specified in the previous video. So first of all, we are going to have the initialization phase. An initialization phase, which basically you specify that I will be equal to 1, and you only run this command only for the first time that you happen to see this for loop. So there you go. For example, you print this line to the screen, then you read the value from the user, and the first time that you come to this for statement, to the for structure, only now you're going to set this value to be equal to 1, and then you move on to the loop condition, and in this condition you actually check whether I is less than or equals to num, and if the result of the condition happens to be true, or better say, as long as this condition happens to be true, you are going to execute the loop body. So on every iteration, once again, on every iteration that you are going to execute this loop, you are going to check if this condition is satisfied. If it's satisfied, if it's true, you are going to execute. If it's false, you are going to be kicked out, let's say it this way, to be kicked out of this for loop and to proceed on with your program. So let's say that you've ran this for the first time, you've ran the first iteration, you checked out this condition happens to be true, 1 is less than 5, let's say that num is 5, so you printed out 1 to the screen, right? Because the value of I is just 1. You printed out 1 to the screen on the first iteration. Then you come to the end of this loop body. And what happens now? Now what happens is this update statement is being executed, meaning that I is getting increased by 1, right? And from this point on, before we start the second iteration, I will be equal to 2. So this happens after an iteration is over, and we print it out to the screen, then we incremented, we updated this statement, we incremented I by 1, and then to enter the loop body, to run the loop body once again, we check out if this condition is true or false, and in this case 2 is less than or equals to 5, right? This condition is true. Then we are going to execute the loop body once again, all right? So this is the loop body, we are going to execute it once again, and we are going to print 2 to the screen. So also we do it the same way for the third iteration. We increment I by 1, I will be equal to 3, 3 is less than 5, we're going to print 3 to the screen, and so on until we reach some condition that I will be greater than 5, right? If it's 5, 5 is less than or equal to num, so 5 will be printed, and we will see all the numbers from 1 till 5 to 5 on the screen. And then we run this printf command once again. We increment I by 1, and now I will be equal to 6, and 6 is not less than or equals to 5. Then the result of this condition will be false, and that means that you're not going to execute this loop body and you're going to step out of the for loop and just to proceed with your program, in this case just return 0 and get it over with. Alright, so I hope you got the point, and just to make sure that you understand all the flow of this code correctly. Let's see another example where we go step by step in the most detailed explanation, because a lot of students are struggling at this point, and I don't want you guys to be one of these students that struggle at for loops. So here we come for the first time, we come to this line, and what we are doing is we set the value of I to be equal to 1. Then we are, alright, we have here the variable I, we set it to be equal to 1, and then we are moving on to the loop body. So the first command that will be executed is the printf command, and we can see, let's say that this is the screen of your computer, this is the console application. We are going to see that 1 has been printed out to the screen. And now we come back to the end of the loop body. And what we should do from now on, we should move here and increment I by 1. So now the variable I, we created a variable I in the first steps of our program. This variable will be incremented by 1, so I will be equal to 2 from this point on before we start the second iteration. So now we are going to come here only if this condition is satisfied, and 2, we can see that I equals to 2, so that 2 is less than 5, num in our case was 5. So now we are going to run this command once again, so printf the value of I, and now the value of I is 2, so we are going to print 2 to the screen. And now we are going to repeat this process, so we are going to increment I by 1, and I is going to be equal to 3. Then we come again to the loop body based on the result of this condition. We checked it and the result is true. So now we execute this line once again, and we can see that all the numbers will be printed to the screen. My bad. The user didn't enter a num equals to 5, but rather he entered num equals to 10. I forgot exactly what he enters, right? It's late hours right now, so please forgive me, guys. And I basically hope that you got the idea of how this code works, and you just run this loop body over and over again until this condition is will be false, and while it's not false, let's say, and on the end of every iteration you use this command to increment I by 1. In this example it's just by 1. It may be another value, it may be another command, whatever you choose. And also just remember that this command is executed just once when you come for the first loop for the first time. Alright, so now let's take a look at another example where we have to print just odd numbers, alright, from 1 up to a given number that the user provides. Pretty similar to what we've done in the previous example, but that just now we are going to print all the numbers from 1, all the odd numbers from 1 till this given number. So the steps are very similar. First of all, we will create I to be equal to 1. So there you go, you first of all created I, alright, this is this line, we represent it with this box, and then you set this value to be equal to 1, and then we are going to execute the loop body and print 1 to the screen, so 1 will be printed here. Now we can see that the loop body is over, and what we should do now, should we increment just by 1 as previously, and then we will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on, but that's not exactly what we want to do. We want to print just the odd numbers. So on every iteration, at the end of every iteration, we are going to increment the value of I by 2. So in this case, we run this command, I equals to the previous I plus 2, so the value of I becomes 3. And now once you come back to the loop body, you are going to print 3 to the screen, and then you increment the value by 2. You are going to have here a 5, and you're going to print 5, and so on and so forth, simply printing out all the odd numbers from 1 to this given num that the user specifies. And that would be it for this video, guys. And I think and I hope that you understand now much better how the for loops work in C, how the syntax looks like, what are all these commands, to what they relate, which commands run before the iteration, after the iteration, what is the condition that is checked if the loop body should be executed or not. And we've seen full examples demonstrated line by line, command by command, what commands are executed and when. So I think you can say that you know for loops, and now I would say that it's time to give it a little bit of practice on your own. So I'll see you in the next challenge. Goodbye, guys.